don't know. You can get that point clear. And that's why it's the first on the back. Lack of infrastructural base for effective development. And we saw that Kogi people are really suffering. And there is therefore the need for a paradigm shift. That is why some of us decided to go to the ring to rescue the maladministration that my people are facing. Rescue my people from maladministration. To that extent, we decided that, look, we need to go meet the people, let them talk to me so that I can know exactly where their pains lie. And I saw things myself with my members of the team. Well, let me attempt to take the issues one after the other, starting with security, which is an area that has to be well versed. Security as we have in Kogi State today is nothing to write home about. People in Kogi State cannot sleep with their two eyes closed. Even what happened to a candidate of SDP while on his way to Kogi State is an affront and a reminder of the level of insecurity as we have in the state. It is even more surprising that nobody has been questioned till date. That would be another issue that the nation needs to address. In Kogi State, we are faced with high level of kidnapping, political assassination, thuggery. Of course, political thuggery is like a subject of its own in Kogi State. And a lot of people are dying as a result of poverty. And criminality, as we have in Kogi State, indeed has been occasioned by lack of jobs. Our youths go through hell to make ends meet. A lot of them graduate from university and have nothing to do. And this has resulted in many of them being recruited by their political masters as political thugs. And because they are not employed, they can easily be swayed to be on the streets of Kogi State, thereby embarking on criminalities. And this cannot continue. We cannot allow it to continue. As I'm talking to you, there's a place in Kogi East called Bagana. Bagana is under attack and nothing is being done. Then the question is, what is happening in Kogi State? Has our political leadership gone to sleep? It's not easy. As the chief security of the state, couldn't he has liaised with the appropriate ministry to request for the deployment of the appropriate security agencies to give it a check? And because Bagana is very close to Nasarawa State, while the army unit is based in Lokoja, it has become extremely difficult to mobilize the army from Lokoja to the place. Hence, the need to get it sorted out from using the battalion in Nasarawa State. This has not been done. And so people are dying daily. As at yesterday, 2 people were reported to have died. I think that if I'm there, and since I am with my team, we shall be on a rescue mission, we know what to do. We know appropriate agencies to call upon to effect and in place adequate security. When we went round, the level of decay with respect to our educational infrastructure is unimaginable. In fact, if I take it one after the other, it will be embarrassing. So I will attempt to give you a summary. In Ibaji, there's nobody there. Hence, the schools there are dead because the flood has taken over the whole place. And this remains unreported. Why is it not being reported? I think we have a federal agency that can address that, and the people will go back to their houses. That has not been done. Calls for a different lesson. And this lesson should be driven from the Niger Delta. This is because Ibaji is an area that has the newly discovered oil. And the federal government is paying 13% derivation to the state. So where is the money going to if Ibaji people cannot benefit from it? And because we are just starting exploitation of the mineral, what we need to do is to make sure that the people there are taken care of to the extent that the youths will not embark on any agitation that will lead to high level of militancy as being experienced in the Niger Delta. This is the right time for us to start addressing it. And in addressing it, adequate employment must be given to the youths from that place and other parts of Kogi State. On the economy, I can tell you that if I start my people, as you know very well, they are egalitarian in nature. And they are so involved in their farming. Agricultural products, as we have in Kogi State, in various areas that I visited, are just lying there and they are undergoing some level of destruction. That is because the roads are so bad. For any road to survive in so many areas, I can tell you that you need a four-wheel drive. So the consequential effect of the bad road is the fact that these food are left to decay because the major transporters will not embark on such roads because of the attendant consequence of the vehicles being damaged. So what it means is that there's no option than to open the roads. There was a place I visited in Ibaji, and there was a small bridge. And across the bridge, you have expanse of land of agriculture. I crossed the bridge with my team, and we're very happy that we crossed it so that we can ascertain things by ourselves. And the people of Ibaji, Basa, told me that this bridge has been there and has become a political issue for every candidate to come there and make empty promises. And I promised them that as far as I'm concerned, that was no bridge because it's less than 1/4 of a kilometer and that no politics should be taken thus far. All we need is to address it. And to the extent that in addressing it, build it, you don't even need to commission it because commissioning will take equivalent amount of money for the building of the bridge. Those of you that may have been very conversant with me when I was the chief of the naval staff, I detest commissioning. And anybody that decides to go on a trail of what I did while in service will attest to what I've just said. And anything for me to commission must be technologically driven based on research and development. So with that, I can tell you that we need to improve on the roads as we have in the state at the moment. Something has to be done tangibly. And there is a link road between Bagana, Awoto, Abajukolo, Awoto Bridge. If that bridge is completed and the road there, well done, I can tell you that it will take less than 1.5 hours from a place like Ankpa to Abuja. So what are we waiting for? All we need to do is to attempt to collaborate with other sectors, with other partners, with people, our friends of goodwill, that put their money there and we can get the job done if the state cannot do it. But if it is within the capacity of the state to do it, why not? At all, it's because there are challenges that some of us decided to go into the ring so that we can address these challenges adequately. If there are no challenges, then there should be no need for a change. And now that there are challenges, the paradigm shift must be in place. Well, I doubt if there is anything anybody can say in a concrete and in a tangible manner that there is good health maintenance in Kogi State, especially Kogi State, where I've visited. So many local government headquarters don't even have clinics. They don't have hospitals. How do the people there survive? I'll give you an example. When we went to Basa, we were told that they had to travel as far as Dekina for them to enjoy good health, maintenance, and then being able to access hospitals on bad roads. So I can imagine if a woman from that part of Nigeria is to travel on that road to deliver a baby, I think the baby will likely be delivered en route. Something has to be done to address that. In so many local government headquarters, the banks deserted the local government headquarters. And that was because payment for the local government were being denied. And because the local government chairman could not access this money, no money could get to the banks, and the banks decided to relocate from the local headquarters. I think something has to be looked into. Something has to be done differently. And because something has to be done differently, we are the people to do it differently. We will get it done. Now you want to have a look at the civil servants. They are all in a pitiable state. Kogi State workers are seen as beggars. I was a worker just some few years ago, and I thought that Kogi State civil servants should not go through what they are going through because they don't deserve that. They are being paid percentage salary, ranging between 15 to 25% of their salary. What can that do to a civil servant? Is that enough to feed somebody? I think the state is bleeding. My people are dying gradually, and it is well known. It is even my opinion that the federal government may need to do something drastically to address that. They can give it an economic name, call it palliative, I think, or even you can declare an economic emergency on Kogi State. If not, more people will continue to die even before the election. Civil servants cannot afford to pay school fees of their children because the meager that is paid to them cannot even feed the families. So what do we do? Now that we know what we do, what we need to do is to change the narrative, is to effect a change by not allowing a third-term agenda through a candidate called Ododo. This cannot continue. And why is it so vicious? Why are they so worried that we cannot have peaceful election? I was one time chief of the naval staff, and we were able to create an environment that Borno State were able to vote in 2015. During the election, I led the team of the service chiefs that went to the National Assembly, and we requested for 6 weeks, and we were granted the 6 weeks. I think the results will speak for themselves. And during the election, there was no reported case of any incidents, and we should take credit for that. Having that background, Kogi that is not at war but at war with itself, I think the problem can be addressed by doing the needful in a different way. The leadership style must change. Leaders must be accessible. Leaders must remain in their state to do the right thing and do it at the right time. Youth development, gentlemen, the cradle of any development of a nation relies with the youths. We respect the youths. And for that reason, anywhere we find ourselves, we must try as much as possible to address what we said as strategic leadership development, which in a literal language means succession planning. We must, as old men, bring the youths closer to us so that they can learn the tactics of getting the right things done. For that reason, we must place the youths in the right perspective so that they can understudy and do the needful. But while believing that the youths will do things differently, I think Kogi State, a leader that calls himself a youth, has disappointed them. And I think the youths can write a book on that. So in doing that, we must make sure that the youths are properly brought up so that they can take good leadership of the nation. Now the youths are vast in ICT, digital technology, an area that we need to invest in, especially in digital development of the state. And for that reason, I'm of the opinion, because there is none at the moment, that we shall establish Kogi State Digital Agency, where a lot of youths can be employed and then thereafter develop their capacities in ICT. After all, there's something that's trading everywhere, artificial intelligence. Why are we not there? It's because we have not been able to utilize our youths. We have not been able to train them to the level acceptable that can get them to doing the right thing, even when self-employed. The youths are the engines. They are the people that we can use to get the base, the state, out of the base where we are today. Meaning we have to place them adequately and make sure that they are readily available. And being available, that means we must provide employment for them. Nigeria as a whole, those that are employed are far beyond what is expected. And that is why when youths are trying to be creative, sometimes they deviate into wrong corners. And to avoid that, we must do what is right and give them good jobs that will be beneficial to their upbringing and their social family lives. Women, like you know very well, when I entered here, I was saying how many women were here, and I found out that it was only one. Even from the media, that clamor for equitable distribution of jobs, we have only one female. Something has to be done drastically in Nigeria, because of those of you from the various media houses here, they are not all from Kogi State, and having only a female requires that there may even be the need of creating an agency that will address the needs of the women. At the federal level, we have Ministry of Women Affairs. Can't we study and then place the same thing in the state? Yes, my state, politically, we have evolved, but we evolved negatively. Democracy is eluding us. This I can explain by telling you that at the lower level, where people ought to benefit from democracy, because local government authorities ought to be very close to the people, I can tell you that local government, they are just there in the name. They don't have capacity to do anything. They cannot even embark in the olden days of what we call rural electrification scheme. So what happened? That is because my state has refused to allow democracy to grow through election. At the local level, we ought to have elections for councillors and local government chairmen. And it is only when that is done that a governor will not, at his will, remove a chairman. But the chairmen as we have in today in Kogi State are improvised directors of local government. But because we enjoy good name, we call them chairmen. They are directors. A chairman that is well elected cannot be removed at will. You can only lobby the legislators when you have good findings against a chairman before such a chairman can be impeached. My state cannot pay 30%. Now, under this democracy, especially in the last 2 years, Nigeria governments, both at the federal and state level, embark on payment of 30,000 naira as minimum wage. My state is not even promising anybody. We are in arrears of payment. For that reason, they cannot promise anybody. But what happens to the allocation? I think it's only those in government today that can explain. And what will I do differently? Of course, because I'm going to utilize the available eggheads who attempt to improve our IGR. And thereafter, I will be able to pay the minimum wage. And those that are being owed various arrears will be paid. Civil servants that were laid off for just unjustifiable reasons will be recalled and get back to work. Pensioners that are receiving percentage salary, pension will be paid their full pension when I'm on board. It is equally disheartening to hear that retirees don't receive gratuity at all. My God, something needs to be done differently. In fact, the word gratuity is an alien in Kogi State. Then why should somebody go to work for a number of years only to be denied gratuity? Gratuity is like the starting point of a retiree. You know, you are not receiving gratuity and your pension is paid on percentage. Gentlemen, I think a lot are ongoing, and it, to me, it requires federal government intervention. Kogi State is a subset of the whole body or the union called Nigeria. And the head of the union is Mr. President. I use this opportunity to call on Mr. President to set up a body to look at the happenings in Kogi State and address the challenges as we have today. We cannot allow these people to continue the way they have been doing things. There are so many Kogais that are ready to come forward and testify on what they are going through. So I call on the federal government to please attempt to rescue my people from the hands of the lion. Well, if the lion is out there, then Akpabana is coming. I will not explain on that. I think that is the new baptismal name for me. Akpabana is coming, and we shall do the right thing. We will only strike at those that will not be carried along, because we will get there and make sure there is peace. We'll get there and make sure our people are highly employed. Now, I was talking about the youths. I forgot something. That the youths, whether you like it or not, they are the ones that vote, really. If you are 80 years and above and you cannot leave your bed, can you come out to vote? But the youths will try to come out to vote. So we must compensate them by adequately allowing them to realize the dividends of democracy. And what do they want after all? Employment. So we must be creative enough to generate employment. And for my people, like I went around, I promised that there will be link bridges that will be embarked by my government when I'm on board. The bridge between Shintaku and Lokoja, the bridge between Agenebudi and Ida, federal government must be called upon to doing that. When federal government does not want to do that and we don't have the capacity, then we approach our friends, international friends, Kogais in the diaspora, to come to our aid with a promise that there will be toll gate and their monies will be recovered as appropriate. And if we have individuals that are ready to assist us in the construction of such bridges, why not? After all, some of us have learned huge lessons that a lot of revenue can be driven from link bridges like we have between Ikoyi and Lekki. So for that reason, I think, and with the study that carried out by me, any person that puts his money in such a venture can recover his money within 5 years. And of course, the effort of the government will be to leverage on the fact that tax relief can be granted, or what you call tax holidays have been granted to such partners so that we can get the job done. And where everything fails, my government will take loan from banks. And once that is done and the bridges are provided, the enormity of what people go through in accessing fuel these days because of the high cost of the product, I can tell you that it will be cheaper to have the bridges, and in a short while, the money can be retrieved. The bridges will pay for themselves. Well, gentlemen, there are a lot of things that I observed when I went round. Mainly, the poverty level that my people have gotten up to. And because they are so poor, some people in leadership position tend to use them. They tend to use them to their advantage and to the disadvantage of the people. We use them and dump them. We use them as political thugs and dump them. Either they finish with them or execute them at will. And nobody is addressing that. We have a pitiable state in Kogi State. Gentlemen, I think I'll stop here for a while expecting some questions from you. Thank you. I think all of us who have seen the resultant effect of an arrangement between two parties that brought about APC and they are in government. So there is nothing absurd, there is nothing bad in parties merging. It's constitutionally allowed. So there is nothing wrong if, for example, my party decides to merge with another party. And like you may have known, and I am thinking that this question is arising from that angle, that 10 political parties have indeed merged with my party, and they have, my state chairman has taken those parties on board. In Lokoja, 10 political parties are already with me, and there are some that are adamant, but they have approached me and they have requested that I should give them more time. With what I've just said, that's to tell you that other political parties have equally assessed the capacity, the veracity, the enduring, the interest which they have for accord candidate. And I'm the one. That's to tell you that all things being equal, I will merge as the governor of Kogi State. From Kogi East, I can tell you that when we went round, we saw genuine acceptability from people. And when you talk of acceptability, you are talking of quality representation of people that will come forward to say, yes, they believe in this person who has the wherewithal to doing the job right. So that we have so many people contesting from Kogi East is constitutionally allowed. Once you are of age and you have the prerequisite and you are a Nigerian, I think you are okay. You can contest. Nobody can deny you. But the arrangement has always been to see that, look, for us to have a formidable arrangement, it would have been better to have a consensus candidate. But again, like I said, nobody can be forced to step down for the other. But technically, I've told you that 10 parties out of 18 parties as we have in Nigeria today are with me, with my own party accord, making 11. I think we are on the right path, cruising on board a ship called Accord to Lugard House. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Excellency. My name is Kogi. I write for Punch newspaper. I just want to know, a few weeks ago, we
countered anything. I think I can only say that the two leaders, the government on one hand and the SDP on another hand, they know themselves better than anybody. Let me talk like a military man, retired, blunt. They know each other better than anybody. None of them is ready to tell us what is going on between the two. With all the happenings, none of them has approached the court. Don't you ask questions as to why? And why is it that they cannot, in politics, especially during campaign, even El-Rufai said, former governor of Kaduna State, said that even when the government is doing well and you are in the opposition, you should look for the pitfall and capitalize on it. And why is it that the candidates, both Dudu and Muri, don't say anything against each other? I think it's to say that the relationship between the two is pregnant. And until it's given a baby is born, I will not be able to say why I am the one enjoying the relative security to moving about everywhere.
Okay.
Well, that has gotten high level of promotion. The divisivity, the level of divide as we have today is heightened by the present government in the state. We have been living together. Do not forget that there was a time that those of us that came from Benue were living with our colleagues from Kwara State. And at the end of the day, Kogi State was created. So we have been used to living together. Why we are having what we have now is because our people are being denied the dividends of democracy. So as a result of which, once there is a leadership, people tend to say that this leader from this extraction is not doing very well. That is the major problem. But on my part, you know where I'm coming from, the military. There is no tribe that is not in the military. So we don't know anything about tribalism within the military. So for that good reason, all I can tell you that go back to my initial position, that instead of doing Igala agenda, I decided to do Kogi unity agenda. And in that case, that is the only time you'll be able to know what are the problems that the people, I'm from Kogi East, the people from Kogi Central and Kogi West, what are their challenges? Once you're addressing their challenges, everybody drops this idea of tribalism. Tribalism, how does it benefit anybody? Hunger in Kogi East is the same hunger in Kogi West and Kogi Central. All the people are yearning for is good government that will in place good governance. So, gentlemen, tribalism will be abhorred by my government because it's absurd, and to that extent, we'll do what is needful to the extent that everybody will be seen that the government is all-inclusive and participatory.
So, thanks for your time. And as we beg from the beginning, please represent us very